Hello and welcome to the class. Today we are going to talk about extended Matura, namely task number 8. When it comes to task number 8, as instruction is followed. You are going to see the text with 4 gaps in it, and above the text you will see 6 words. Idea sounds quite straightforward. You are going to fill the gaps using the words in the from the box. So 4 words need to be used, 2 are extra. But here's a catch. You will have to also modify these words. So that means you need to add some suffixes or prefixes, or maybe both of them, so the sentence will make logical sense. So you need to modify these words based on the context, right? Before you start, I have a couple advices. First, like before starting to read the text and everything, read these words from the box and translate in your head and try to understand what each of them mean, right? And also which part of the speech is each of them. For example, first one, clear, to jest in this case adjective, to przymiotnik, concern, this is noun, follow, this is verb, harm, this is again verb, or can be noun as well. Important is adjective, and prepare is verb. Okay. So now, after reading and understanding each of them, clear to może być jasne. For example, concern means dotykać, otroskać. Follow means to go after someone. Harm means to like damage something or someone, or cause damage to something or someone. Important is basically ważne, and prepare means przygotowywać, right? So we understand all the meanings. And also another advice is, if you are reading the text and if you hit the gap, one of the gaps that is really hard for you to do. For example, we are going reading the text and first one sound is really hard, like you're thinking and you are not sure what to do, what to write here. Skip it. Move to the rest of the task, and after doing others, circle back to it, because especially if these if these sentences are at the start, imagine like if you are doing number 1 and you haven't done any of others, you have to choose one of the 6 words here, right? Which can be hard. But if you skip number 1 because it's hard and you do 2, 3, 4 and then return to it, and like, yeah, imagine 2, 3, 4 are easier, right? And then return to it. Now, instead of out of 6 words, you have to choose out of 3 words. And making choice out of 3 words is easier than making choice out of 6 words, right? Okay. Now let's move to the text and let's go with the strategy. So, when you are going to hit the, you need to understand, firstly, how these word transformations work, right? There are 2 ways. One way is grammatical transformation, which is done using suffixes. Suffix means like this additional, like, let's say, parts in the end, right? Grammatical transformations are usually transforming a word from one part of the speech to another part of the speech. For example, transforming verb to noun, like czasownik to rzeczownik, or noun to verb, noun to adjective, or adjective to adverb, or opposite way, right? For this purpose, we use suffixes in English. On the next slide here, you see different transformational suffixes. And these suffixes are essential essential to learn in order to successfully complete this task. Okay, at start and when we practice, of course, we are going to look at them and do the tasks using this table. But by practicing and memorizing, you need to have all, if not all of them, at least almost all of them in your memory. Okay. So because during the exam, you won't be able to look at this table. So for now, we can look at it and use it, because now the more important part is to detect when do you need grammatical transformation and which is what part of the speech do you need in this gap. Okay. In addition to suffixes, there are also prefixes, right? Sorry, like it should be prefixes. It was a mistake. Prefixes. When it comes to prefixes, prefixes change meaning of the word. Okay, so they don't do anything to its grammatical form, but they change meaning. We have here dozens of prefixes. And again, we need to, through the practicing, through memorization, we need to learn, if not all of them, most of them at least, because all of these are quite important. There is a one kind of disclaimer, kind of spoiler slash disclaimer, that based on the experience of the previous year's Matura and even this Matura, grammatical transformations will be more prevalent. So like if you have to basically, if we are having some deadlines, like firstly, we need to concentrate on grammatical transformations. And also we will see why during the exam, okay? So now we understand the basic rules of transformations, and sometimes, of course, the word in this case can include both transformation we need, can include both suffix and prefix. This happens when you need to transform the word grammatically, so convert it into another part of the speech. But in addition to that, you might also need to change meaning of the word itself, right? Okay. Now, let's look at this sentence. Let's start our text and go step by step what to do in practice, right? Let's start reading. Picture our text about polar bears. It doesn't need to be, of course, doesn't need to be polar bears, of course. Text can be about anything. But we are starting and we are reading. Pictures of polar bears often show bears in white surroundings. In some languages, they are even known as ice bears or white bears. However, the truth, something, the colors of polar bear is more complex than most people think. Let's look at here. And my first question you need to ask, like firstly, of course, you need to translate these words, like however is mimo tego, truth, pravda, like o kolorach of these polar bears is more complex than most people think. Now, once we translated the general idea, now let's look at this part, this gap, and ask yourself a question. What part of the speech do we need here, right? So you have truth, so you have one noun here, then you have something, and then you have another noun. Colors of polar bears, right? So, in this case, subject, verb, object. So, between those nouns, you need some kind of verb, czasownik, right? So, now let's look at it. So we already know we need the czasownik. Now let's look at our gaps, our words that we already translated, and ask ourselves which meaning is the closest here. Tooth clear, not really, it has nothing to do with clarity. Concern, actually yes, concern can mean dotyczy, right? So truth dotyczy about, basically dotyczy, dotykać polar colors. So about colors. Full of no. Harm, there is no information about harm. Important colors, we are not talking about important colors. Prepare, there is no information about preparation. So we are going with word concern, right? But concern, as you see, is noun in itself, right? So now we need to go for transformation suffixes. We have noun, we need to turn it into verb. So we have rzeczownik, turn it into czasownik. Now let's look at here and look at these suffixes and choose the best one, right? Most appropriate one. And when you like repeat in your head this root plus suffix, you will also realize which one sounds the most correct, right? First one, concerate, concernate, no. Concernize, we don't have, like, it sounds like really weird. Concernify, again, that doesn't sound like word, but truth concerning is correct. So that's how we choose concerning. So you decide what part of the speech you need here. You decide most appropriate word, and then you move to the suffixes, and in your head you decide out of these conversion suffixes, like there are like sometimes maximum there are like 7, 8, but they are usually less. Out of these conversion suffixes, which one he sounds the best? So in this case it was concerning. So after you decide and you kind of have full word, read the sentence again. However, truth concerning the colors of bears, polar bear, is more complex than most people think. So as you see, if you read it afterwards and something hits your ear weirdly, so something sounds incorrect, most likely that means that you made an error. And that's why it's really important to read the sentence after you fill the gap. So you will hear in your head how everything gets together and if it makes logical sense and if structure is logical and smooth. Okay, now let's continue. And again, like if you couldn't decide which one to write, you could skip it and move later. Newborn polar bear cubs fit within the palm of your hand. They are blind and toothless with pink skin showing through short white fuzz. Even the little noses and footpads are pink, but at the age of 3-4 months, their pink skin turns black because of their thickening coat of fur. Now, black skin is something seen only on their nose, lips, and footpads, right? And having black skin is great. So we can also read the next sentence if you have some problems understanding the context. But in this case, again, what part of the speech do we need? Let's look at this, what comes after it and what comes before it. So their black skin is, this is verb, something, seen only, seen. So you have two verbs. So it is followed by verb. Which one? Which is the most important, right? And it before it also comes verb. So that means this thing describes the verb. And which part of speech describes the verb? It's adverb. Okay, so we already know we have adverb here. Now let's look at our words. So we already used concern. So clear, skin is clear, seen, like easily seen. Yeah, can be like clear, like jasne, right? Seen, yes, can be. Full of, no. Harm, there is no information. Harm, important, No, again, because we don't talk about which one is important, right? Or why is it, like, we are not, nie mówimy o ważności tu. And prepare, there is no process to be prepared for, like, then later we are talking about like why it's good, right? So C, we have the best one here is clear. Now let's look at clear. Clear itself is adjective, przymiotnik, but we need here adverb. Look at this. There is only one way to turn adjective into adverb, it's li. Let's look at here, clearly. And now let's read the full sentence again. Because of the thickening coat of fur, their black skin is clearly seen only on the nose, lips, and footpads. Quite logical, quite smooth. Sounds correct? Is correct. Let's move on. Having black skin is great, something to the bears. Okay. And okay, sentence is short. Maybe we can continue a bit to get more context. First, darker colors are better at absorbing something, something, something. So looks like later we are talking about advantages, right? Okay. Again, now let's look at what part of the speech do we need here. Having black skin is great, something for the bears. Let's look at what comes before it's great. Great to jest przymiotnik. After przymiotnik, we have rzeczowniks. Okay? Is of great rzeczownik. Ma dużo coś tam dla niedźwiedź, right? So, coś tam in this case is rzeczownik. Now let's look at the words that we have left. First two are gone. Great follow, not really. We are not talking about following, basically. Harm, there is no damage. We are talking about some advantages later. So this is out. We have important and prepare. There is no information about some process that we need to prepare before or after. So there is only left important. So we have important, which is przymiotnik. So we need to turn przymiotnik into rzeczownik. Let's look at our suffixes. Importic, important, no. Importantic, importanic, no. Importus, no. Importful, no. Importless, no. Importy, again, no. Importish, importlike, again, no. Importary. Best one here is actually importance. So now let's try and read whole sentence using this word. So having black skin is of great importance to the bears. First, darker colors. So yeah, first darker colors are absorbing heat from the sun, which is advantageous to polar bear trying to stay warm in Arctic. Yes. Second, dark colors give better protection against something, UV radiation from the sun. Okay, now we have our last part, second. So we are talking about second advantage. Dark colors give better protections against something, radiation, UV radiation of the sun. Okay, in this case, let's again decide what part of the speech do we need here. Look at what is following it. UV radiation from the sun and give better protection against. So here we have noun phrase, right? UV radiation from the sun. At the start, like what comes before noun? What describes the noun? It's przymiotnik, it's adjective. So now let's look at the root of our adjective. We have harm, important, prepare. No, sorry, follow, harm, prepare. In this case, because UV radiation is about damaging something, the most appropriate is harm, right? Let's put the harm here. And harm itself is a noun. and we need adjective here, right? Or noun or verb, basically. But basically, we need adjective. Again, so noun to adjective, in this case, harmic, harmless, harmful actually is good. Harmless is also good. Others are no, not good. So harmful or harmless. Harmless means less in general is used best, so right? Less itself means best. So is it without harm or are UV rays are usually in this case damaging? So it's harmful. So full suffix transforms the words into adjective and also means that this has X has this Y. So it causes harm in this case, right? So harmful. Let's again try the full sentence uh, with our transformed word and see if it makes sense. Second, dark colors give better protection against harmful UV radiations from the sun. The sunlight polar bears are exposed to is intensified when it's reflected off the snow, ice, water that makes up the bear's environment. Quite smooth, sounds correct in our head, is correct. Okay, so in this case, as I mentioned before, all of the words needed suffixes only. All of the transformations were connected to grammar. But there might be the cases where you will also need to use prefixes to transform meaning. So when it comes to prefixes, some of them are quite similar with Polish. For example, entai, like, or auto by yourself, extra, quite visible, right? Non, also inter, mega are super. But like for example, in, non, ear, or d are something that are different. So we will have to learn these prefixes as well by firstly remembering what each prefix means and coming up with a couple examples of them, right? Okay, so after this, we are going to do, after this lesson, we are going to do some practice. One will be doing the text and another one will be separate sentences. So we will kind of um, master and streamline the process of transformation of words, especially between parts of the speech, and also uh, like also modifying the meaning of the word using our prefixes, right? If you have any questions, please let me know. If you will need any help or any additional materials, please contact me or please let me know right after the lesson. Other than that, thank you for today's lesson, today's meeting, and thank you for your attention and engagement. Wish you a nice day and see you. Bye.